I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe if so, and please watch till the end because I'm going to be telling the story on how I ended up in Thailand on Murder Island. Let's jump right into it. Beau here, and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be discussing the 4 differences between US and Mexico that drive me crazy. These are just simple differences though. Sometimes it's things that just I'm used to having in the States that I can't have in Mexico. But without further ado, let's get right into the literal shit. Let's talk about number 1 and number 2, which basically talk about number 2, and that is going to the bathroom in Mexico. It can be so annoying, so just frustrating, especially because you sometimes have to pay to go to the bathroom in Mexico. In the market, sometimes even shopping malls, it'll either cost you 5 pesos, which is 25 cents, or 10 pesos, which is 50 cents, which doesn't seem like a big deal, right? However, they sometimes don't have change. And Mexico markets seem to present the opportunity to have emergency number 2s. And so if you are in the market, just think of it, you're in the market, you eat something your stomach's questionable on, your stomach's like, oh, this is not good, we need to find a bathroom now. Well, so you find a bathroom, first you gotta find one. Once you find one, you go running up and you're like, here's 100 pesos. They're like, sorry, we don't have change. And you're like, so you have 2 options. You either say keep the change, or you grab the 100 peso bill, you run over to a vendor, you buy something, hopefully they have change and they give you change. You can run back to the bathroom, give them the coin, and run inside and do your business. So it's not a bad thing. I understand why they charge for the restroom service and stuff like that, and they give you toilet paper. But then again, it gets kind of annoying, especially whenever you're used to not paying for it. Number 2 is they don't have, a lot of cities don't have sewage system. They have drainage. And by drainage, I mean, whatever you put down that toilet is gonna end up in the ditch, in a river. They have drainage. That's the definition of a drainage. Every sign in the bathroom says drainage. Do not put your toilet paper in there. And that's it. You cannot put your toilet paper in the toilet. And that adds a little bit, especially to get for somebody from the US to get your mind wrapped around. You cannot put your toilet paper in toilets. So there's a trash can right next to the toilet. I'm used to being able to throw it in the toilet, but I understand completely why they can't do it in Mexico. I am not saying throw your toilet paper in the toilet in Mexico. That's bad because that's gonna go in the ditch. It's better to throw it in the trash can and they dispose of it that way in a landfill. But for a US citizen, that's very hard for their mind to get wrapped around that you do not put your toilet paper in the toilet. Number 3 is milk, and I'm actually in a cornfield for a reason. Without cornfields like this, you won't have fresh milk. It takes a lot of corn to feed the cows to produce as much milk as us humans consume. So what I see in certain areas of Mexico, in certain areas of the Philippines, I see what I call super processed milk. And by that, I mean, it's milk that can actually sit out on the counter till it's open, and then you have to put it in the refrigerator. So the shelf life on it is massive, and it doesn't have to be refrigerated. retail opening. In the US though, we are extremely fortunate, and it's just normal for us to be able to go to the grocery store, you get a fresh cold gallon of milk that expires in 2 weeks, and to me it just tastes so much different than what I call the super processed milk. Once I did not have the option to have the other, I forgot all about fresh milk. So that was number 3, is milk. Well, I was planning on filming number 4 out here. That's obviously not gonna happen. All these birds showed up. They're being loud, causing a ruckus, and they won't leave! Number 4 is markets and street food. And this isn't something that drives me crazy, it's just something I think everyone should know, and I obviously didn't think about it. However, in the States, we get food like this from the grocery store. It comes in bags, it's been pre-washed, and you can easily just like on the way home, eat it. However, in Mexico, that's not always the case, especially at street markets. I personally got very sick in San Cristobal, and I basically have a rule now. If you eat the skin, make sure it's washed and soaked in salt water. So, and specifically, we're gonna be talking about strawberries. Strawberries have lots and lots of pores in them for bacteria to hide and everything else. And in San Cristobal, I had the great idea that I was gonna buy strawberries and eat them at the market. Well, I actually have a theory behind this on why I got sick. So growing up, I always had a garden. I would be out there growing strawberries, carrots, whatever, and I would literally be picking them and eating them or whatever as I'm picking them, right? And I never got sick. However, growing up, I was always outside, so I was used to all that bacteria. However, in Mexico, it's different because I jumped on a plane, went 1,000 miles. My body's used to the bacteria that we have in Kansas, which is kind of a dry, arid, like bacteria, right? And all of a sudden I go to Mexico in San Cristobal, it's kind of a cool, wet climate. So there's a whole new petri dish or plate of bacteria that were on those strawberries, and that's why I got sick for 4 days straight. So that being said, make sure you're washing your vegetables and soak them in salt water, and make sure it's purified water. Don't be using the tap water to wash your vegetables. And the next thing is street food. I absolutely love street food. If you watch this channel, you know I love street food. However, I do have a tendency, and it doesn't drive me crazy, it basically drives me crazy about myself. I have a tendency of where we'll be out late, right? Maybe go to the bar or something. And after, I'm like, man, I'm hungry. Maybe like, let's just walk around and find some street food. So we'll walk into a park or something, and there'll be nobody at the stand. And I'll be like, hey, they're making quesadillas. That sounds like a great idea. Or hey, they have this new food I've never tried. That sounds like a great idea. It's not. Almost, I would probably say 50% of the time, the next day, I'm sick. Like not bad sick, but my stomach's just very upset. And I believe it's because I'm taking a whole lot more food risk than you should. So if you are gonna eat street food, make sure, like I have a couple rules. Make sure it's fresh, and you can tell that by if it's on ice or whatever. Number 2, make sure there's people there. I know a lot of people hate waiting in lines, but lines are good because that means people eat there a ton, which keeps the food fresh. And also, that means people aren't getting sick because they're return customers coming back. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this helped you out. And if you can think of any differences that kind of drive you crazy, like even vice versa, if you're living in Mexico and you're like, man, where I visited the US, this drove me insane, comment it down below because I want to hear it. And until next time, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Beau out. What are you doing? Murder Island, or otherwise known as Kotao Island. I did not know it was even called Murder Island wherever I showed up, like nothing. So let me set the scene for you. I am on my very first solo trip 100% by myself. I fly into Bangkok. I spend a couple days in Bangkok, and how I travel is I'm a whole lot worse now than I was then. Then I used to do a little bit of research on YouTube. Like I maybe planned it where I'm gonna be here for 5 days, you know. Now I just like whim it. But even then, I never looked at weather. I didn't care, whatever. So from Bangkok though, I jump on a 7-hour bus to a ferry terminal and take a ferry over to Koh Tao. Taking the ferry over to Koh Tao, I thought it was normal, but the ferry was almost empty. And looking back, that should have been a sign that something bad was coming. However, I'm like, oh, perfect. I have the whole ferry for myself. Like, I don't have to compete with a seat. They give me as much snacks as I want. Like, this is perfect. So I show up there. Beautiful, beautiful weather. Koh Tao, you can search it. It's a beautiful island. So the first day and second day, the weather was perfect. I filmed, I swam. I basically just acclimated myself to.
Well, I just got out of the convenience store, got some new flip-flops for 90 baht.
Living on an island. And that next night though, was whenever things kind of started to turn just a bit. I talked to my parents, and they seemed a bit flustered, but nothing too bad. And they weren't even flustered about what was about to happen. They actually went to a place called Sticky Rice. My dad absolutely loved eating there, but it was owned by a Thai family, and they were so excited that I was going over to Thailand. And whenever my mom and dad would eat there maybe once or twice a week, and every time they would go in there, they'd be like, hey, where's Beau at? Because I was going to be in Thailand for about 35 days, and then Philippines for 35 days. And this time they asked, hey, Beau just left, where's he at? I know he was in Bangkok last time. Shows her like where the island is and stuff. She goes, oh, that's not good. And Sammy is the owner, and her mom, she looks over at her mom. This is all from what my mom told me. Sammy looks over to her mom that's cooking in the kitchen and says, Beau's in Koh Tao, and her mom's like, Beau's gonna die. So this island, I had no idea about it. And even now, like, it took me like 3 or 4 years to actually realize what was actually happening on the island. They told me that it was like Murder Island or Death Island at the time, but I didn't think anything of it. I think in my mind, I was just like, they're being overcautious, whatever. So, but a little backstory on this island. From 2014 to 2016, I still think it kind of happens. Like, tourists were being killed and left on the beach. There was a couple, there was a girl, there was a guy, like literally, like they were just being killed and left on the beach. And I think they told me that it was like there's people dying on the island or whatever, but I was just thinking, whatever. But let's go back to the present time. That night though, it starts raining.
As you can see, everything is flooded. I am very fortunate that I am right here and the restaurant is right there. But beyond that, to even get to my motorbike, it's 3 feet of water.
And me being me, I'm thinking, it's just a rainstorm. We'll wake up in the morning, everything will be great. I spent a little extra, got a cabana on the beach. This is perfect. I'm like 40 yards from the ocean. And the next morning, I wake up, it's still pouring rain. Like, I mean pouring, like thunder, lightning. And I go out on my balcony. Well, the nice like path that goes to the cafe or where you have breakfast, the flowers that are next to it, you can't see them. They're under about 2 to 3 feet of water, and a couple hours later, I see a motorbike floating under my cabana out to the ocean. Like, no lie, like no shit. A motorbike, a scooter floating out to the ocean. And so I wade out to the cafe because it's breakfast time, and I'm like, hey, I'm here for breakfast, and like, is it gonna stop raining? Like, is this normal? And they're like, no. This is a monsoon. This is not normal, and there's not gonna be breakfast because we have no power. Like, pretty much, like, good luck. Like, do you want to extend? And I was like, well, the ferries aren't running. I think I was on one of the very last ferries that came and left. Ferries aren't running, so I'm trapped on Death Island, and I decided that I'm gonna move to higher ground because my cabana is perfect, right? but we're only lacking about probably another 2 to 3 feet of water, and my cabana's probably not, it's probably not going to be nearly as nice because it's going to have water in it. And a side note, whenever you have these rains, whenever you have these monsoons in these tropical islands, bugs don't like the water either. So where do they go? They come up into your cabana. I had the biggest cockroach in my cabana, but that's beside the point. So I move on to a new hotel that's more on the mountainside, that's a little safer, like there's not rushing water under my cabana. They have internet and a generator, which is huge. And the island's actually split in two because the water's coming off the mountain so high. I'm in more of the newer area, not upscale, but not low scale. And the other side of the island has all the backpackers. And then if you even go further, it has the super, super nice places. So I'm kind of in the middle area. But by that monsoon coming in, rained for 5 to 6 days straight, I had to call my mom and tell her that my 2 days that she was so worried about, like once she went to visit Sticky Rice, was now going to turn into whenever they start, or they resume the ferry service, which ended up being like 5 to 6 days later. My mom is completely stressed out. I don't know anything about it. I'm sure my dad is slightly stressed, but he's probably just slightly annoyed about the whole situation. And it's crazy though, because there was multiple people that died on this island in the time that I was there. Like I was whenever I showed up, I was in the thick of it. Like I was in, like I was right in between the first and kind of where it trailed off. Like I was right in the middle, and there's multiple conspiracy theories on what happened to these tourists. There was some foreign nationals that were arrested that were there working on Kotal. I don't 100% believe they were the ones that were responsible. There is a rumor that there's a very high-powered family that lives on the island. That's basically like the mafia that controls everything. There's other ones that said that one guy, I believe was a guy that committed suicide, but however there was, I think he was from Europe, and they had some investigators come over from Europe, and the police ruled it a suicide, but the investigators were like, absolutely not. No way, this is like, it was a homicide. Like, it's very weird because I've been back there since. It never registered me that this was a serious thing till probably 3 or 4 years later, where me and my buddy Albert went, and I started doing some research and got a little freaked out where I was like, yeah, I think at night, I think we aren't probably gonna drink very much. We're gonna kind of like, we're gonna keep it tight. We aren't gonna like, but like we're gonna get crazy. We can do it in a different city, different island. We're going to Fifi or PP or however you say, I think it's PP island, which is a neighboring island of Kotal. But I mean, it's so weird that at the time I was in the thick of it. It had already been dubbed Death Island, Murder Island. However, it never even like registered to me while I was there. It took a couple years later to register that actually like all this stuff happened. And now I watch the conspiracy theories on YouTube. Look up one, just type in Murder Island, Thailand. It'll come up with some. They're pretty crazy. So hey, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. And if you like this story, comment down below. I have tons of them. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. Beau out.